I'm sure you've all heard it before that heel striking is bad for runners. And maybe you've tried to land on your forefoot instead, but now your calves are screaming and you're wondering, was this actually a good idea? As a physical therapist working with runners over 35, this is one of the most common running myths I get asked about all the time. Today, we're breaking it all down, the different types of foot strike, the truth about performance and injury risk, and what really matters more than where your foot lands on the ground. First, spoiler, it's not as simple as heel strike bad, forefoot good. So let's get into it a little bit more. What is a foot strike pattern? What do we mean by foot strike when we're talking about runners and their gait? There are three main foot strike types. Rear foot or heel strike. You land on your heel first, your foot rolls forward, and you push off the toes. Then there's midfoot. You land more evenly with your heel and forefoot hitting around the same time. Not necessarily perfectly, but there's definitely not a heel contact with the ground. And then there's forefoot strike. The ball of your foot lands first. The heel may lightly touch down or stay elevated. Very typical of what we see in our sprinters and what we should see in our sprinters. Their heels really don't touch the ground. Now, here's something people don't realize. Nearly 80% of distance runners are rear foot strikers, and that includes our elite marathoners. So, little story time. One of my clients, Megan, a 42-year-old half marathoner, came to me super frustrated because she switched to forefoot running and striking after watching a few YouTube videos from experts and ended up with Achilles pain that sidelined her for 6 weeks until she started working with me. She didn't need to change her foot strike to prevent injury. She needed to fix her overstriding, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit more. And I do have a video that I'll link up here about overstriding, what that kind of means as a runner. Okay, so next, let's talk about running economy. Basically, how much oxygen and energy you use at a given pace is your running economy. Some coaches out there really promote midfoot or even forefoot striking, arguing that it allows for better energy return. The logic makes sense, but the research doesn't always go with logic. There are multiple studies that show there's no significant difference in running economy between rear foot and forefoot strikers, especially in runners who stick with their natural gaits. When runners change foot strike, their economy usually gets worse because their body isn't used to it. You're recruiting different muscles, altering your stride mechanics, and it takes time and mileage to adapt. Running economy is optimized when stride, cadence, and strength all align, not just your foot placement. Okay, are you overstriding or just heel striking? This is where things get confusing. Most people equate heel striking with bad form, but that's not always the case. If your foot is landing too far in front of your body, that's overstriding, and it does create braking forces and increase impact on your joints, regardless of your foot strike type. It is typically associated with a heel strike just because you're reaching so far out in front of you. But you can heel strike and have good form if your stride length and cadence are dialed in. This is where gait analysis becomes a powerful tool for runners. Sometimes fixing your stride mechanics solves the problem, not changing your actual foot strike. It's changing you from not overstriding anymore. What about injury? This is the big motivator behind people wanting to change their foot strike. They've heard over and over again that a heel strike causes more injury. It causes more ground reaction forces. Heel strikers, the knee injuries are more common. Forefoot strikers, though, foot and ankle injuries become more common, which as runners over 35, that's where a lot of our injuries are in the first place, is the foot and ankle injuries becoming more common. So changing to a forefoot strike could make you even more susceptible to that, or will make you even more susceptible to that. And here's what the research and years of treating runners has shown me. Foot strike shifts the stress. It doesn't eliminate it. You don't reduce injury risk by simply switching your patterns. You just change up where the risk shows. So again, kind of an example. For knee pain, heel strikers often experience patellofemoral pain, runner's knee, or IT band syndrome. Forefoot strikers are more prone to Achilles tendinopathy, calf strains, or even metatarsal stress fractures because the force is going through that foot versus on up the chain as much. So I had a client named Jake, we'll go with Jake. He's 39, who had chronic knee pain. He switched to forefoot striking, hoping to improve that knee pain. But a month later, he still had his knee pain and then also ended up with plantar fasciitis and calf tightness that just really put him over the top and unable to tolerate his training at all until he started working with me. We fixed everything going on, all of his mechanics, and he went back to healed a midfoot strike instead of that forefoot strike and really got his control and pain under control. So should you as a runner, should you change your foot strike? If any of these apply to you, you're injury-free and running consistently, you're happy with your current performance, you don't experience recurring pain, then no, changing your foot strike is probably unnecessary and could do more harm than good. However, if you have recurrent injuries that can be linked to mechanics, are working with a professional on a structured plan, have a clear gait abnormality like overstriding, then maybe, but only under guidance and with a very patient and continued progressive program to change your foot strike. But it's more changing your gait mechanics, and it must be paired with strength training, especially your calves, especially your glutes and core, because they're taking a bigger strain than what they're used to. You need to make sure you're doing mobility work, and then also cadence and stride drills. I'll talk about cadence in this video up here. And then also having a gradual mileage ramp with the new foot strike. Changing your foot strike isn't a quick fix at all. It's a long-term adaptation process, and it needs to be treated that way. Stop just going out for a run and saying, I'm going to start forefoot striking now and run on your toes and get confused as to why you started having pain, and it was convinced that it was because you were previously running as a heel striker. No, it's because you changed your gait pattern. So if you're trying to become a stronger, more efficient runner over 35, that energy is better spent here. Aim for cadence control. Aim for 165 to 180 steps per minute. Again, I have a cadence video about how to control your cadence and how to really get into that desired range. You should be strength training 2 times a week is really ideal to reduce injury risk. You should have form check-ins, short form-focused runs, and occasional video analysis that you can even do yourself. And I'm going to do a whole video on how to do your self-gait analysis. These are the things that actually move the needle to make you a better runner, not obsessing over whether your heel or toe hits first. So, should you change your foot strike? For most runners, no. Instead, focus on strength, form, and consistency. But if you're feeling stuck, injured, or unsure, I can definitely help. Book a one-on-one virtual gait analysis with me, and I'll give you some personalized feedback on your running mechanics, your stride, and your training plan, or grab my 12-week strength and injury prevention program built specifically for runners over 35. I'll link all of that down in the description below. So let's stop chasing trends and start really building running habits that last. Hit like if this helped you clear things up a little bit, and be sure to subscribe for more no BS running advice. Also, let me know in the comments, what's your natural foot strike? And if you are curious if you are overstriding or have something else going on. See you next time.